All right, guys, I'm just going to read out an article to you. I'm not even going to mention what shitty little mainstream media paper this is in or website this is in. But these guys are failing on a daily basis. Just put it that way. Boris finally reveals his full exit plan. 50-page document that says 2 metre rule cannot always be kept, admits masks should be worn, and holds out prospect of sport behind closed doors and social bubbles from next month. Boris Johnson has finally published his 50-page exit strategy document from the coronavirus lockdown. Last night, PM told Britons to stay alert, control virus and save lives in the new government coronavirus slogan. Colleagues can return to work, get this, yeah? Colleagues can return to work in any numbers if social distancing is enforced, but families cannot meet up. So you can go to work and you can mix with your friends from work. So you can go to work, you can do what they want you to, be the little slave, go to work, but you can't meet your family. How does that make any sense? Johnson's conditional plan could see schools start to open in June and parts of hospitality industry in July. He has introduced a 5-tier DEFCON-style warning system to monitor the threat the virus poses in the UK. Garden centres will be given the green light to reopen from Wednesday with social distancing rules in place. Once-a-day rule on outdoor exercise is being ditched and bigger focus on going to work where possible. Families and friends could be allowed to mix in bubbles from next month if the battle against virus goes well. The new lockdown rules at a glance. Face coverings advised for people on public transport and in closed spaces. So they're advising you to wear one. So let's go back to the headline, should we? So in the headline it says, admits masks should be worn. So with the word should, if you're just catching that headline, you're going to think now we have to wear masks. If you just read the headline, that's what you take from that they've made it mandatory. Everyone has to wear a mask now. That's what you'd get. You should wear masks, okay? But it says here, like I just read out, face coverings advised for people on public transport and in enclosed spaces. Well, you know what? You can stick your advice because I won't be wearing a mask, okay? Because you know what? I've also been seeing a lot of stories, guys, about people crashing their car and passing out because they've been wearing a mask all day. And now they've got less oxygen and they're passing out and crashing their car. So no, I won't be wearing a mask. I won't take your advice. Thank you very much, but stick it, okay? Mixing in bubbles of friends and family could start from next month. At the same time, major sports could be played behind closed doors. Those who can should continue to work from home for the foreseeable future. People working in sectors including food production, construction, manufacturing, logistics, distribution and scientific research in laboratories should go back to work from Wednesday. So let's have a look at what they're telling you where you have to go back to work. So food production, obviously we need that. Okay, so you've got construction. Construction isn't that important when there is a pandemic going on, unless of course construction includes infrastructure of 5G. You've got manufacturing. Of course, they don't want that to stop because there's products we're going to need whilst we're in this situation. So they have to continue to be made. You've got logistics and distribution. So that's what postal things, delivery, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then you've got scientific research. Of course, they want those people to be working. So scientific research in laboratories, especially what to do testing and all that, whatever they're doing there, they should go back to work from Wednesday. But hospitality and non-essential retail businesses should remain closed. Okay, so they're saying all these people are allowed to go back to work, but everybody isn't, and you can't make money, you can't have a business, you can't run your life, you can't do what you were doing. So your life is still on hold. More key workers are encouraged to send their children to school. Primary schools will start to get back and up and running for reception year 1 and year 6 in June in small classes. Parents will not face fines for refusing to send their children to school. So they're telling you all the schools are going to be open. The school children have to return back. They'll be returning back in June in smaller classes, but you don't have to send them because you will not be facing fines if you don't send your child to school. The majority of secondary schools will stay closed until September. Outdoor sports like tennis or golf will be allowed with one other person from another household. So you can play tennis or golf with another person from another household, but they're telling you that you can't see your own families. This all makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, is everyone keeping up now, yeah? People could start mixing in bubbles with family and friends from the beginning of next month at the same time as TV sports make a comeback. The details emerged in the government's 50-page roadmap, finally published this afternoon after a shambolic 12 hours since Boris Johnson's address to the nation. The blueprint stressed that the 5 tests have not yet been met, and so major loosening of the draconian curbs is not possible. In a grim forward, the PM said, "We must acknowledge that life will be different, at least for the foreseeable future." Mr. Johnson warns that a vaccine was the main long-term way out of the crisis, but the plan cautioned that it is possible a safe and effective vaccine will not be developed for a long time, or even ever. So guys, here we all are, waiting for this vaccine, waiting for this to come out with this news that this vaccine is here and we're all going to take it. But can you imagine the other scenario? It says here the vaccine, or even ever if it's developed, right? So if they never develop a vaccine, which obviously I don't want them to, but we are in a catch-22. We're kind of like, we're almost trapped in a way, because if they develop a vaccine, we're fucked. And if they don't develop a vaccine, we're fucked. Because if they don't develop a vaccine and they say this pandemic is here and it's ongoing, then this lockdown and this way of life, guys, is how it will be, like they keep saying, for the foreseeable future. So, okay, let me carry on reading. But the document said smarter social distancing measures are being introduced to try and nudge the country back to some sort of normality. In the future, restrictions will be targeted more precisely, recognising that not everybody's or every group risk is the same. The guidelines say those who can should continue to work from home for the foreseeable future, and pointed to full health and safety guidelines due to be published tomorrow. But if you're a person like me, and I worked in the leisure industry, okay, so I was in a gym type scenario, the work I did, and I can go to work because I'm fit and healthy, but I can't go to work because the government has decided that we can't go to the gyms anymore and we can't use our bodies and do the things we want to do. All of our responsibilities for ourselves has been stripped away from us. We can't say how we can protect our immune system. We can't, everything is being taken away from us right now, guys. So the guidelines say for those who can, they should continue to work from home for the foreseeable future, and pointed to full health and safety guidelines due to be published tomorrow. From Wednesday, all workers are being urged to return to duties in sectors such as food, production, construction, manufacturing, logistics, distribution, and scientific research in laboratories. The only exceptions to this are those workplaces such as hospitality and non-essential retail, which during the first step the government is requiring to remain closed. Who the fuck are the government to tell us what is non-essential in retail? How can they tell us what we need and what we don't need? How can they be classing what is essential and what isn't? The plan said schools cannot yet fully reopen, but said more key workers should be encouraged to send their children to school. So the schools can't reopen properly, but send your children in. Everything contradicts itself. Everything. There is a large societal benefit from vulnerable children or the children of critical workers attending school. Local authorities and schools should therefore urge more children who would benefit from attending in person to do so, it said. Face coverings are being advised for people on public transport and in enclosed spaces, something that happened in Scotland a fortnight ago. The document also corrected another blunder overnight, stating clearly that people are able to play outdoor sports such as tennis or golf with one other person from another household. Wear a face mask on public transport or in shops where you can't social distance, new guideline says. People should wear a face covering on public transport or in shops where social distancing is not always possible, the government announced today. Official advice released this afternoon said the coverings will help people avoid transmitting the disease to others if they have it without any symptoms. What? How can you have an infectious disease that is purported to kill people and it's so vicious and it's this most vicious invisible enemy we've ever had, but you can have it without having any symptoms? Really? It added that homemade cloth face coverings can help reduce the risk, but surgical masks or respirators should continue to be reserved for healthcare workers. Ministers added that face coverings should be used by children aged under 2 or those with the respiratory conditions. People who may find it difficult to manage the masks correctly, such as primary-aged children, unassisted, are also advised not to wear them. So they're advising children under 2 to wear them, but then they're saying if they can't maintain it or it's difficult for them to wear it, they don't have to wear them. So wear the masks if you're under 2, but don't wear the mask if you're under 2, if you can't deal with it. Officials said the new guidance was being issued in response to there being more movement outside people's immediate households as Britons start returning to work. While the Prime Minister has insisted that social distancing must be maintained, he did not mention the use of face coverings during his address to the UK last night. From next month, primary schools will start to get back up and running for reception, Year 1 and Year 6, but classes will be kept small, and the majority of secondaries are set to stay closed until September. Parents will not face fines for refusing to send their children to school. At this point, the government will also look at permitting cultural and sporting events to take place behind closed doors for broadcast while avoiding the risk of a large-scale social contact. More non-essential shops will also start to be opened, although hairdressers and beauty salons are not likely to return until July at the earliest. The document also sets out how families and friends might be able to mix from next month if the virus remains under control. As restrictions continue, the government is considering a range of options to reduce the most harmful social effects to make the measures more sustainable. For example, the government has asked SAGE to examine whether, when and how it can safely change the regulations to allow people to expand their household group to include one other household in the same exclusive group. Okay. The intention of this change would be to allow those who are isolated some more social contact and to reduce the most harmful effects of the current social restrictions, whilst continuing to limit the risk of chains of transmission. It would also support some families to return to work, for example, allowing 2 households to share childcare. This is just ridiculous. This could be based on the New Zealand model of household bubbles, where a single bubble is the people you live with. As in New Zealand, the rationale behind keeping household groups small is to limit the number of social contacts people have, and in particular to limit the risk of inter-household transmissions. None of this is making any sense, guys. The roadmap said the government is also examining how to hold small weddings. This next bit gets me in my heart because you all know my situation, my daughter. The roadmap said the government is also examining how to hold small weddings. However, there is no reference in the material to foreign holidays, suggesting they are off the agenda for a long time to come. So they're even shutting down where we can travel to in the world. That's where we're at. Nicola Sturgeon left Boris Johnson's coronavirus lockdown plan in tatters today as she told Scots to stay away from public spaces and less exercising after people in England were told it was okay to go and sit in the sun. The Scottish First Minister tore into Boris Johnson's chaotic new lockdown plans today, insisting they would not be used in Scotland. The First Minister said she would ignore the Prime Minister's vague new stay alert, control the virus, save lives slogan in favour of the previous stay home message. And in her daily press conference this lunchtime, she directly countered Mr Johnson's guidance last night that it was now okay to sit in the sun in your local park as long as social distancing rules were followed. Mrs Sturgeon said the only change in Scotland was removing a limit on how many times people could take daily exercise. We do not at this point want to see more businesses opening up, more people going to work. We do not yet want to see more people using public transport, and we are not yet changing who can or should be at school, she said. Oh my God, she sounds like a crazy bitch. By exercise, we mean activity such as walking, running or cycling, not at this stage sunbathing or having a picnic. What is this, woman? This really does not give people a license to meet up at the park or at the beach. Oh my God. It was the latest sign that Mr Johnson's attempt to keep 4 nations of the United Kingdom, whose leaders have control over their own lockdown measures, in sync over coronavirus, was in danger of breaking down. Oh dear, they were falling out. Last night, Miss Sturgeon's Welsh counterpart, Mark Drakeford, said the stay-at-home message had not changed in Wales either. Sir Patrick Vallance, England's chief scientific advisor, said experts were confident the measures announced by the UK government would not increase the rate of transmission of coronavirus. From a scientific point of view, the review was happy that the first wave of proposals were unlikely to push R above 1, he told reporters during a briefing. And then it needs to be monitored very carefully thereafter. Addressing the new advice which allows more outdoor contact, Professor Chris Whitty, Chief Medical Officer for England, the Alien, said, there is a little bit of room for manoeuvre. The numbers are going down. We are confident that R is below 1 already. That's the first bit of background to this. Secondly, we are confident that the risk of being outdoors in terms of meeting people, provided it is with social distancing, is significantly lower than of indoors. We are confident these quite small changes will not have a material effect on their own, provided people stick to the social distancing and the rules that are there, on increasing the R beyond where we are at the moment. Professor Chris Whitty said the changes to the government guidelines for England were about making sustainable alterations for the long term. There are clear benefits to making this sustainable, he told reporters. We have to do this for the long haul. It is really important to understand that. Did you hear that, guys? They're telling us this will be ongoing. This is what we've all talked about and known of and researched and spoke of. This is the New World Order. They've blindsided us all, and here we are. We have to do this for the long haul. It is really important to understand that. Taking a very small risk for something which manages to make it more sustainable for people to do has some clear benefits. We are not claiming there are no risks in this, but what we think is that they are very small and proportionate to the advantage of overall well-being, exercise leading to good health and sustainability. Earlier, the government's stance was thrown into confusion as Dominic Raab was forced to clarify Mr Johnson's call in a speech last night for millions of workers to return to duties immediately. The Foreign Secretary insisted the government is not urging workers to return until Wednesday. He didn't say that. He did say Wednesday, Boris. I don't know what they're making such a fuss about this. He actually did say Wednesday on the speech. I heard him say that. So, coronavirus will be with us for the foreseeable future, says Boris Johnson, warning that we may never find a vaccine. That's where we stand today, guys. Whether we get the vaccine or not, this is the new world. And here we are. So if you think outside the box, and if you see, then continue to do that. I'm trying to remain positive, although it's very difficult because I don't know when I'm going to see my daughter again, and that is very difficult for me to live with. That will be, but it's also makes me so mad and angry that the government has decided for me that I can't travel. They've decided for me that I can't leave my house. They're trying to decide for me who I can see and who I can't see. They're trying to decide for me how I protect myself, my family, and my children. They're trying to tell me that their way of thinking is better than I would think for myself. That's what's happening here. It's some sort of mind replacement. So forget about your mind and how you think, and just put in the BBC mind and the government mind, and that's how they now want you to live. Well, I ain't living like that. That's not how I'm going out. Peace out to all my warriors.